Let me show you how to create a salary and hourly rate calculators in Google Sheets and Excel. First, let's calculate our annual salary based on our hourly rate. Before we get started, it's essential to establish some initial assumptions and constants. To begin, we need to determine the average number of hours worked per day and days worked per week. We will use the standard work week of 8 hours per day, 5 days a week, totaling 40 hours per week. Our constants are 365 days in a year, 52 weeks in a year, and 12 months in a year, which we will utilize in our calculations. On the right, you will find a list of formulas that I will be using. While there are various methods for calculating each item, after running several scenarios, I have determined these to be the most precise. Before we calculate our annual salary, we need to start with our hourly rate. Let's set our hourly rate at $15. To calculate our daily pay, we multiply our hourly rate of $15 per hour by the number of hours worked per day, which is 8 hours. Therefore, our daily pay is $120. Now, all these calculations represent gross amounts before any taxes are deducted. Weekly pay can be calculated in two ways: by multiplying the number of hours worked, 40 hours, by the hourly rate of $15 per hour, or by multiplying the daily rate of 120 by the number of days worked, which in our case is 5 days. In both cases, the result is $600 per week. Many people are paid bi-weekly, so we multiply our weekly pay by 2 to get $1,200 bi-weekly paycheck. Given the variations in the number of weeks per month throughout the year, some months having 28, 30, or 31 days, I prefer calculating the annual salary before determining the average monthly pay. This method ensures accuracy because some months have 4 weeks while others have 5, which can lead to inconsistencies if you just multiply the weekly pay by 4. To calculate the annual salary, we multiply the weekly pay by 52 weeks in a year, resulting in a salary of $31,200. Dividing this by 12 months, we get an average monthly pay of $2,600. It's important to highlight that if we simply multiplied the weekly pay of $600 by 4 weeks, as many do for a monthly estimate, it would result in $2,400, which is less accurate. Figuring out your annual salary before monthly pay is more precise. Once you have this calculator set up, you can easily adjust the variables and assumptions to explore different scenarios. For example, if I work 10 hours a day, 6 days a week, at the same $15 per hour rate, my annual salary would increase to $46,800. Additionally, you can modify constants such as changing the weeks from 52 to 50, assuming 2 weeks of unpaid leave, let's say, or adjusting the months from 12 to 10 if you have 2 months off as a teacher. Another thing that you may want to calculate is your hourly rate based on your annual salary. This is particularly useful if you're paid a yearly salary and work a significant amount of overtime, as it allows you to determine your true hourly earnings when accounting for total work hours. Once more, we need to establish some assumptions regarding the number of hours worked per day and days worked per week. For now, let's stick with the standard 8 hours per day for 5 days. In this scenario, we already know our annual salary, which we will enter in the yellow cell, and we need to calculate all the other monthly, weekly, daily, and hourly rates. Once more, I have listed formulas here on the left, but there are multiple ways to calculate each of the rates. To calculate our monthly salary, divide the yearly salary by the number of months, resulting in $4,167 per month for a $50,000 annual salary. Next, I will calculate my weekly pay by dividing the annual salary by 52 weeks. yielding $962 in weekly pay. Biweekly pay is twice that amount. The daily rate is determined by dividing the weekly pay by the number of days worked. In our case, the standard 5 days. So each day we earn $192 in gross pay. To calculate our hourly rate, divide the weekly pay by the number of hours worked per week, which in this scenario is 40 hours. Therefore, our hourly rate is $24 per hour. However, if I change the number of hours and days worked to 10 hours per day and 6 days per week for the same salary, our hourly rate drops to $16 per hour. If you want to explore different scenarios, Excel offers 2 helpful what-if analysis tools. GoalSeek helps you determine what a variable needs to be in order to achieve a specific result. To use GoalSeek, navigate to Data and then What-If Analysis and select GoalSeek. Now I need to specify the final result I want, such as setting the annual salary in E10 to $60,000 and indicate which variable I want to adjust to achieve the result. In this case, my hourly rate in E5. After running GoalSeek, you will receive the calculated result, which in this scenario determined that I would need a $29 per hour job working 40 hours a week to make $60,000 a year. If you want to keep the results, click OK. Otherwise, click Cancel. While GoalSeek is available in Excel, it's not available in Google Sheets. However, you can use a formula to perform a similar analysis. To find the hourly rate in Google Sheets based on the salary, divide 60,000 by 52 weeks to get the weekly pay first. Then divide that by the 40 hours worked per week to determine an hourly rate of $29, matching the result obtained with GoalSeek. Excel has another very useful what-if analysis tool known as data tables. These tables enable you to test various scenarios by automatically calculating and displaying multiple results based on different input values. We will set up a data table involving 2 variables, hours worked and hourly pay rate. Once we have populated our variables in the cells situated above the row and column data, we have to specify which formula will be used to run the scenarios for us. So we will link it to the annual salary in cell E10. Then I will highlight the entire table and go to Data Table under What If Analysis. In the row input, I need to locate the cell in our formula that specifies the horizontal variables, which are the hours per week worked in cell E4. For the column data, it refers to the hourly rate, so I will link it to the cell E5 and then click OK. Now that we have our data table, I can quickly tell that if we work 40 hours per week at $30 per hour rate, we would earn $62,400 in annual salary. The inputs in data table can be modified and the table will automatically update. We can also do the reverse with calculating hourly rates based on hours per week worked and our yearly salary. In the top left corner of the data table, I need to specify the formula to use for running the scenarios, which is a link to cell E9 for our hourly rate. So since our row variables represent hours per week, I will specify the row input cell as D17. And as our column variables represent annual salaries, I will set the column input cell to E4. Now I can quickly tell that if I earn $70,000 a year and work the standard 40 hours per week, I am effectively making $34 per hour. However, if I work a lot overtime and put in 60 hours a week for the same salary, my hourly rate actually drops to $22 per hour. Now you can always rely on an online calculator for a quick check of either your salary or your hourly rate. After testing a bunch of online calculators, I find that the Talent.com calculator has the cleanest and most beautiful interface, and is very quick to use. You can change any of the variables to calculate all the others. If you prefer using Google Sheets instead of Excel, you won't have the built-in what-if analysis tools available. However, there are two ways to create similar data tables in Google Sheets. The first option is to utilize a Google Sheets add-on. Go to Extensions and get Add-ons. Search for What If add-on created by Jeffrey Yang. In the description, it tells you that it tries to replicate the What If feature found in Excel. However, I could not install it. Every time I tried, I received a message that the application was blocked. It seems that recently the add-on may no longer be supported, as others have reported similar issues. Although Google Sheets doesn't include the What If toolset, you can easily create a data table yourself. Set it up as you would the data table in Excel. Specify the hours per week horizontally and hourly rates vertically. While you could arrange it the other way around, having hours across seems more logical. Then let's establish our annual salary formula. Take the number of work hours per week with absolute reference for the row so it doesn't change when copied, but keep the columns relative so the formula adjusts when copied across. Next, multiply this by the hourly rate on the left. Here, the column needs to remain absolute, while the row should be relative to update with different hourly rates. This calculation gives us the weekly salary. To convert it to yearly, multiply it by 52 weeks and set the cell D21 as an absolute reference to keep it constant everywhere in the table. If we work 20 hours a week at $10 per hour, we would earn $10,400 a year. We can then copy this formula across and down to generate our salary data table just like in Excel. Now let's create the data table for the hourly rate. The formula would involve taking yearly salary, dividing it by 52 weeks to obtain a weekly salary, and then dividing the results by the number of work week hours. For example, if your salary is $52,500 and you work 40 hours a week, your hourly rate would be $25 an hour. By copying the formula across and down, again, we can generate our hourly rate data table in Google Sheets just like in Excel. Thanks so much for watching.